2 centuries ago, in a quiet little lab, a fire-drunk scientist lit a flame that never went out. He extracted a number. The whole world runs on it. Food, medicine, factories, politics. A calorie. But what if that number wasn't just wrong? It was engineered to fool you. And it's not just my theory. Here's what Harvard says. This idea of a calorie in and a calorie out when it comes to weight loss is not only antiquated, it's just wrong. I know you tried. You downloaded MyFitnessPal. You logged spinach like it was contraband. You googled how many calories in 20 minutes of set cardio. And at first, it worked. Until it didn't. I must have miscalculated. Maybe I had no willpower. Maybe I'm just weak. But what happens if someone does everything right? Meet Lucinda. She hasn't had a cheat meal since 2018. She always weighs ketchup. She counts almonds like other people count their children. She never guesses. So what will happen next? Step 1. Math. Lucinda Googles, how many calories do I burn daily? She lands on one of those sleek websites. You know the type. Pastel logo, apple in the corner, some stock pictures of a woman tying her shoes on a mountain. Classic. Pick your level of activity. Low, moderate, high. That's it. No nuance. No definitions. No idea if walking with your dog counts as an exercise or just stress relief.
You don't want to guess, you want to know.
Honestly, she already lost and she didn't even know it yet. 5 different sides, 5 different numbers. Her body doesn't change. The mess somehow does. So Lucinda goes to fancy lab. Tip in the mouth, oxygen mask, treadmill test. $200 and she walks out with her personalized burn number. 500 deficit confirmed by science. She's not obsessive. She's scared of messing up. Lucinda crushed her morning. She earned this lunch. And like any woman who logs food like it's been reviewed by the IRS, she heads to the one place she trusts. That restaurant with printed calories on the menu. So clean, so responsible. I'll have the chicken bowl. 650 calories, right? Right? But here's the reality. A study in obesity found restaurant meals were widely off. Some undercounted by hundreds, even double. And it's not just scientists in lab coats. The New York Times ordered real meals from real cafes and sent them to a bomb calorimeter. Result? Plus 548 uncounted calories. In one single day. But Lucinda firmly believes in holy calories. She logs 650 even before the plate hits the table. What she doesn't know, the chef added 2 tablespoons of oil. Not because he's evil, but because he wanted to taste it like something. And also because nobody cares. Nobody measures. Actual calories? 880. But something worse was already at work in her bloodstream, no matter what she ordered. Okay, fine. Maybe restaurant menus lie, but at least grocery stores are safe. They have labels, numbers printed right there, calories, grams. Factories make them. It must be measured. How wrong can a yogurt be? Lucinda picks the perfect top that says high protein, low sugar, 120 calories. Labeled, stamped, FDA-approved. Except, here's the rule written in fine print. Food labels can lie up to 20%, and it's perfectly legal. That's not a glitch, that's not a scandal. According to the FDA, if your yogurt says 120 calories, it can legally be 144. And yet, when the numbers don't add up, Lucinda doesn't blame the label. She blames herself. But it's time for dinner. Our girl does what we all think is the answer. She cooks. She takes control back. If the world cannot be trusted, she'll do it herself. She logs every gram like she's diffusing a bomb. Pumpkin waffles. Pumpkin, oat flour, egg. No oil, no sugar, no guesswork. MyFitnessPal says 300 calories. Perfect. But this time, the light is inside the food, because cooking doesn't change the label. It changes what happens in your body. We've had fire for 780,000 years, but somehow fitness apps still can't process it. When you cook, you're not just heating it up, you're breaking it down, make it softer and easier to digest. The same piece of raw celery could hit 5x harder when cooked, not because it gained calories, but because your body can finally access them. And while celery is extreme, flour and pumpkin are the same story. Lucinda's app says 300, but her body gets closer to 470, and that's even before we get to protein. Lucinda could cook turkey, but why bother? A calorie is a calorie. Cool. Uranium has 18 millions of them per gram, and I'm still waiting for that diet plan. That turkey is still 200 on paper, but your body spends 30% of that just breaking it down because protein fights back. Fat? no fight. Carbs, easy win, but protein makes you work for it. And even then, not all calories are meant to be burned. Your body saves protein for the good stuff: muscles, skin, blood cells, hormones. It's a building block, not a fuel line, unless you're starving and it has no choice. The next day, Lucinda shows up in the gym like she's about to fight for custody. 60 minutes on the elliptical. No text, no breaks. Just sweat, Taylor Swift, and a quiet hope that finally it will work. The screen lights up. 480 calories burned. Her Apple Watch, modest and loyal, says 355. She doesn't even hesitate. If one says 480 and other 355, she'll pick 355 because Lucinda would rather suffer than cheat. But both of them are optimistic liars. Stanford ran the test, every major fitness tracker, all the big names. But none of them got calorie burn right. Some of them were off by 27%, others 93%. Imagine a scale that says you weigh somewhere between 130 and 210. But it isn't just machine error. The entire system was built even before we had electricity, and Lucinda's actual burn is already closer to 280. But that was just kindergarten. Now the real boss shows up. Lucinda wakes up tired. Not that, I'm lazy tired, but that specific kind of tired where your brain says, go work out, and your body says, try me, and I'll make you cry. There's where most people quit. Binge, blame willpower, but Lucinda is still. She's obedient, precise, disciplined to the bone, but her body fights harder. Her fingers go cold, her blinking slows, her digestion drags, even her fidgeting fades. Not because her body hates her, but because it wants to survive. Science calls it adaptive thermogenesis, or why am I suddenly so sluggish? And just like that, she loses about 250 calories from her daily burn. And this boss has a sidekick, smaller, meaner, just as brutal. Even before her metabolism adapted, when she was still dancing in the kitchen and feeling kind of powerful, her body was already stealing from her. Lucinda burned 280 calories in the gym. That's part real, but her body compensated. It pulled 80 of those calories with the same mechanism: less blinking, toe tapping, stretching butt. Research shows we don't keep all the calories we burn. On average, about 72%. But the more we push, the lower that number goes. Walk for 20 minutes, you'll probably keep it all. Train like Lucinda for hours, you'll get 50-60% of that energy back. At best. It's like buying $200 boots and then clipping coupons and skipping coffee the rest of the day just to make the math work. And finally, the last boss. The one that doesn't fight, doesn't chase, just stands there smiling because it knows Lucinda never had a chance. But before we face it, let's pause. You already saw the cracks. Now buckle up because the next part is so stupid it feels illegal. Let's ask the question no one ever asks. Where the hell did this system even come from? We started measuring calories in 1800s, but not for weight loss, not for nutrition, not even for people. We did it for measuring explosions. The man behind it, Wilbur Olin Atwater, not a nutritionist, not a doctor, a 19th century American chemist, just a guy with a metal box and a love for fire. He burned things like whale oil, beeswax, lard, all in a sealed chamber, and measured how much they warmed a tank of water. Then one day, may history never forgive him, he slid in a pigeon pie and lit the fuse on modern diet culture. That's it? There's the origin of the system millions of people now base their self-worth on. There is a medical story that mirrors this lie, and it ended in tragedy. You will get to that. So, Lucinda wasn't broken. She was just loyal to numbers that were never designed for the human body. The final boss was never in the app, in the restaurant, or in the gym. It was inside her. Inside you. Same banana, two women. One gains fat, the other burns it for fuel. It's not discipline, it's biology. Because your body isn't a calculator. It's a chemistry lab run by bacteria, flooded by cortisol and rigged for survival. And Lucinda never logs any of that. Not the cortisol spike that whispers, burn muscle, store fat. Not the gut bacteria that drink 15% more calories from the same bowl of oats than her roommates. She tracked everything, except the part that mattered. On paper, minus 500. In reality, somewhere between minus 40 and 250, dependent on what she ate and how long she's been dieting. By the way, what do you think will happen to her? And how did this flawed math become religion? Early 1900s. The US needed a cheap way to feed soldiers and factory workers. Calories were perfect. Cheap, countable, no need for meat or vegetables. You could hit numbers with cornmeal and bread. It worked for World War I and II, so we brought the system home and never looked back. But modern research, it's screaming at us. For example, one study gave two groups identical calories. One ate mostly processed food, the other ate whole food. The processed group burned 50% less calories during digestion and gained more fat. Another study gave women the same macros, same schedule, same workouts, different results. One group lost fat, the other didn't. Why? Gut microbiota, insulin sensitivity, cortisol profile, all invisible to the calorie count. But defenders of the system love to quote lab studies. You see, if you'll eat less than you burn, you'll lose weight, no matter what it is. And you know what? They're not wrong. Sometimes you can lose weight even eating Pop-Tarts. But here's what they're not telling you. These studies last 4-8 weeks. They're done on obese, sedentary people in locked rooms, with food delivered in Tupperware by scientists in white coats. You're not in a locked room. You're in real life. Here your body adapts, stress adds calories, and sleep erases progress. And the worst part, they're not even lying. They're just not telling you what happens next. Like, how fast people regain it, or what they actually lose. Everyone assumes it's fat, but in reality it's mostly muscle. And that's how you end up looking skinnier, but nothing like the Pinterest girls. And finally, who benefits from the lie? The obvious ones? Easy. Big food loves calories. It lets them sell 100-calorie packs of literal trash and call it portion control. Fitness apps, cardio machines, smartwatches, all built to show calories burned, even though they don't actually know. But here's the part no one talks about. What about the credible ones? Science YouTubers, PhDs, the lean, trustworthy ones who says calorie balance is what finally matters. They're not evil, they're not lying. In fact, they believe in it. It's clean, controlled, it feels scientific. One formula to fix everybody. One number to silence every question. And if that doesn't work for you, well, that's on you. It's like that story about Ignaz Semmelweis, a 19th century doctor who discovered something simple. Washing hands between childbirth saves lives. He begged doctors to do it. They laughed, mocked him, called it unscientific. He was thrown to a mental asylum, where he died soon from sepsis. They weren't bad people, they were the credible scientists of their time. They just couldn't imagine that the system they built their careers on might be wrong. So no, fitness influencers don't hate you, but many of them are scared of what comes next. Because if they drop calories as the answer, they'll have to admit, this works for one people, this for others, this works for me, but science is still figuring it out. And when your whole brand lives inside a holy science shield, uncertainty feels like death. So, if the calories aren't the whole story, where to move? Women who escaped the calorie trap didn't eat less. They eat smarter. Not perfectly, but by learning what actually works for them and their goals. Like food that's harder to store as fat, food that raises your metabolism while digesting, or even food that makes your muscle cells grow, not fat ones. I used this strategy to eat 300 more calories and still drop fat. If you're curious, the next video is waiting. And if you're ready to change how this actually works in your body, check the description. And what about Lucinda? Did she give up? Does she still logs every bite? Or did she learn to listen to something deeper? Only you know the answer.